My name's Cris Pasqueralle, and I am the author of the Destiny Trilogy. Book 1, Destiny Revealed. Book 2, Paths of Destiny, currently available. Book 3, Quest of Destiny, will be out late this fall.
Book lovers unite. I'm Demethius Jackson, and you're listening to the Chapter 1 podcast. The greatest stories ever written all begin with Chapter 1. In each episode, our guest authors will share their first chapters with you. Before we get started, I just want to take a moment to thank all of the authors who have contacted me to be on the show. And I want to also thank all of the listeners who are just incredibly supportive of the show. I love reading your emails and the messages you send me. I gotta admit, I greatly underestimated the amount of interest that would be in this show. And at times, it's a little overwhelming, especially since I've only been podcasting now for about 3 or 4 months. But hey, those are good problems to have. And in fact, I want more of those problems. So continue supporting the show, continue spreading the word, and authors, continue sending me those requests. It may take me a little while, but I do personally respond to everything. And with that, let's continue with the show. On today's episode, I'll be speaking with author Cris Pasqueralle. He's a former New York City police officer who's always had a love and passion for books. Writing has been a long-time dream for him, and he really enjoys writing middle grade and young adult stories because he sincerely believes that reading can open up a world of possibilities for young minds. Cris is the author of the Destiny Trilogy, and today he'll be reading from Book 1 entitled Destiny Revealed. And it starts right now.
Destiny Revealed is book 1 in the Destiny Trilogy. Focuses on 13-year-old twins Jack and Maddie Austin, who are just celebrating their 13th birthday. At the end of their birthday party, when all their friends are gone, their Uncle Benny gives them a gift from a mysterious man named Stanton. They're 2 necklaces. One is a medallion of the sun, one is a medallion of the earth. There's a card with a poem on it to explain the gifts. But before this can be explained to the twins, the family is under attack by an evil wizard named Tardon, who has come from the magical realm to get to the twins. Uncle Benny protects the twins, but their parents are kidnapped by Tardon and taken away. And Uncle Benny must take the twins back to the magical realm. He explains to them that they're wizards. They're kind of skeptical. They're taken into a clearing in the forest where they're going to be given their first lessons in being a wizard from their Uncle Benny and his assistant, a teenage girl named Connie. So here we go. Though they were still in the forest, before them was a field of grass surrounded by trees. Jack's eyes fell on Connie as she walked toward them from the middle of the field. She wasn't much older than he, and as he watched her, Maddie tapped the bottom of his chin. "Close your mouth," Maddie scolded. "You're starting to drool, and she's too old for you anyway." Jack looked at Maddie. "What do you know?" Connie stopped in front of the twins and looked at them for a few seconds before addressing Benny. "So," she began, "these are our students?" "Yes," Benny confirmed. "Jack, Maddie, this is Connie, one of my finest students. She will be assisting me with your training. Contrary to what you've read in books or seen in movies, there are no real spells to bring forth your magic. Using your powers is more about believing in yourself than using words to pull things out of thin air. You have to truly want what you are asking from your powers, and you have to completely trust yourself." "That doesn't sound too hard," Jack stated. Connie responded. "For someone with self-confidence, it shouldn't be. But plenty of people have led difficult lives, or are shy, or have trouble trusting their instincts for whatever reason. For those people, developing their powers can be extremely difficult." She looked Jack over. "I don't think you'll have much trouble." Jack smiled and looked at the ground. Maddie rolled her eyes. "I could see how a person could have difficulty," Maddie said. "I have found," Benny started to say, "that the best way for a wizard in training to learn their strength and weaknesses is under pressure. It is in stressful situations that we find our courage, what we are made of." He raised a hand toward the sky, and suddenly a dark cloud filled the sky. It was accompanied by a loud buzzing that became louder as the cloud moved closer. "Those are locusts," Maddie pointed out. "And they're coming right for us," Jack said, finishing his sister's thought. The twins dropped low to the ground, thinking that they could avoid the oncoming horde of bugs, but the swarm only flew that much lower. Realizing that they wouldn't be able to duck out of the way, Jack stood. He stretched out his arm and raised his hand, like a cop directing traffic. and before they reached the twins, the insects began to fall out of the sky as if they hit a wall of glass. Maddie got up, and she and Jack traded a high five, but the bugs weren't finished yet. The bugs quickly regrouped and took flight again. They circled high and made another run at the twins. This time, Maddie stepped forward. She put her arms out in front of her body in the shape of a hoop, and the bugs flew right through it and were trapped in an invisible container. Maddie made a motion as if she was sealing a giant Ziploc bag with the insects inside. Connie clapped, and Benny smiled widely. "Well done," Benny commended. The celebration was short-lived, as the wind picked up so strong that Jack and Maddie had to lean on one another to keep from being blown over. "Can't we take a break?" Jack yelled over the howling wind. Benny leaned close to Connie. "Are you doing this?" he asked. Connie shook her head. "Then be ready for anything," he said. With a loud crack, a branch from a nearby tree gave way. It hit Connie on the side of her head, knocking her to the ground. She didn't move, and as Benny went to her aid, the sky went dark. He looked up at the black clouds that were gathering overhead and becoming thicker and thicker, the wind swirling them violently through the sky. In the center of the clouds, an eagle the size of a van was descending toward Jack and Maddie. "What is that?" Maddie yelled. "A thunderbird," Benny answered. "Head into the woods. It's too big to follow you." As the twins ran toward the tree line, the giant bird went after them. It shot lightning at them from its eyes, and the twins ran in a zigzag pattern to avoid the bolts. Just as they reached the trees, one lightning bolt exploded at the base of a large pine, and the tree burst into flames. The twins fell to their knees and wrapped their arms around each other. Tears ran down Maddie's cheeks, and Jack's whole body shook. The huge eagle landed a few feet in front of them and began walking toward them, its screeching causing a sharp pain in Jack and Maddie's ears. Connie got to her feet, and she and Benny ran toward the twins, who were now standing to face their attacker. The twins held hands as the dinosaur-sized bird let out a tremendous squawk. They pulled closer together so that their heads touched. A bright golden light emanated from the twins, and as Connie and Benny ran closer, they were forced to stop and shield their eyes. The golden light encircled Jack and Maddie, and when the bird moved in to swallow them in its giant beak, a blinding flash split the darkness and the eagle vaporized. The wind stopped instantly, and the bright blue sky returned. The twins had fallen to the ground, and Connie began to go to them, but Benny grabbed her arm. "This is a power I've never seen," he said. "I'll take care of them. I need you to go to Stanton and tell them what just happened. These two may be beyond my teaching skills." And to learn more, you have to get the book.
To all my book lovers out there, do yourself a favor and check out Half Price Books. With more than 120 stores across the country, Half Price Books is America's largest family-owned bookstore. At any of their locations, you can buy and sell new and used books, music, movies, games, electronic devices, even collectibles. And Half Price Books has been dedicated to literacy and environmental initiatives since 1972. They give back to the community by supporting hundreds of worthy projects, including this one, and have been the leading drive behind programs like the Million Books Donation Project and the Half Pint Library Book Drive. Find a Half Price Books location near you by checking out their website at www.hpb.com. There are a lot of talented individuals out there, including you, so why not share your talent with the world? Well, you can with Sunfire Talent. Sunfire Talent is an internet-based talent agency focused on generating mass exposure for everyday people with amazing skills. The company's mission is to help talented people with limited resources showcase their abilities and be discovered on a global stage. Check out featured artists and be featured yourself if you have the skills on sunfiretalent.com. That's sunfiretalent.com. Joining me today by Skype, I have author and awesome guy, Cris Pasqueralle. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you so much for joining me today. You've been working on the Destiny Trilogy for a while now. How did you first create this concept?
Okay, my children, who are older and grown now, but they were big Harry Potter fans when they were growing up. And of course, wanting to be the good parent, I have to see what my children are reading, and I became a Harry Potter fan. And when we finished reading that series, it seemed that a lot of the popular books for young adults and middle grade kids were focusing on vampires. And my daughters weren't big fans of those. I've always wanted to write. I've always dabbled in it. My older daughter, Tony Ann, said, "Dad, why don't you write a book about wizards?" So I kicked around an idea with her. I talked to her a little bit, and it grew and grew, and it became this trilogy. Maddie is very much my younger daughter. Mm-hmm. Connie is pretty much my older daughter. And Jack is kind of a 13-year-old version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Jack is older by a few seconds or minutes, and he never lets his sister forget it. He's very protective of her. He's very headstrong, and he's quick to act. Maddie is very cerebral. She's the smart one. She thinks things through. She takes her time before acting. She evaluates a situation, and they complement one another because though they're twins, they're opposites, and they work very well together because of that.
Okay. I like these characters because they seem like ordinary children, but there's something interesting about them, where there's something unique going on with them both.
Well, they live in our non-magical realm, but I have the world broken up into 4 different realms, and they're originally from the magical realm. But when they were born, they were the only wizarding twins, and to avoid curiosity of others, their parents moved them to the non-magical world and kept them away from that until things happen and they have to return and learn of their true destiny.
It was actually interesting. The world that you've created seems pretty modern, yet, as you mentioned, it is filled with magic. Can you explain that a little bit more? You said it's broken up into different realms.
Well, the world that we live in, I wanted to keep, kids 13 years old, video games, school, friends, books, music. I wanted to keep all of that. Let them show they're very much regular kids. They don't know anything else. They do what their friends do. They do what all kids do their age. But then when they're brought into the magical realm, they realize that things there are quite different. The things that they read about in fairy tales or saw in movies are very real. There are magical creatures. There are magical beings. There are gnomes and fairies, and they have to adjust to all of that.
Could you just imagine being a child that age and then realizing, as you said, that everything you saw in movies or television, all that magic was real? That would just be mind-blowing.
Oh yeah. And that's the hard part about writing something like that. You have to keep the awe involved because, to make it real, the kids are going to be like, they're awestruck by something like that. But at the same time, they have to function in that world. So you have to kind of get them past it, but you have to make it real that they move past it. Here I have them, they want to find their parents. Their parents have been kidnapped. Their parents are missing. Their drive is to find their parents. So they're able to kind of look past everything that's going on around them to focus on their goal.
Yeah. Do you find it difficult writing from a child's perspective, or do you look to your own children for inspiration?
Well, my kids are older now. My oldest is 21. My youngest is 17. When I started writing it, they were a little bit younger, but there are things in it that I drew. I mean, I knew the music that my younger one liked. I knew the video games that my nephews play. What I did do, I tend to listen to people's conversations. So if I hear kids talking and I listen to it a little bit, I could use that. And that's how I kind of stay in touch with that.
That's pretty
Plus, I have a very good relationship with my children. We're pretty close. I'm lucky in that we talk about things that happen in their everyday life. They were very involved in sports, and I was their coach at times. And so I was close to them and got to observe a lot of the things that I can use now.
Perfect segue. Jack and Maddie's parents and family members play a major role in the story and also in their development as wizards. I thought it was interesting because usually in fantasy, the mentor figures get killed off immediately and the hero has to learn and find their own way. Yet you chose to take a different direction with them. So did you originally plan for this, or was that something that happened as the story evolved?
No, I always wanted to keep the family intact. I never liked, even when my children were little, you watch those Disney movies and within the first 5 minutes, mom and dad drowned or whatever happens to them, they're gone. I was a police officer, a New York City police officer, and I saw a lot of kids left on their own. And the message I want to get across in my writing is that your family is there for you. It's okay to rely on an adult, to rely on someone more experienced than you to give you advice. But at the same time, there are situations where you grow and become your own person. But it's okay to have that safety net. Don't ignore your parents. They know what they're talking about.
Even if they don't seem like it.
Yeah, exactly. But I wanted to get that across, that it some type of role model. Even if you don't have parents, you have a teacher, you have a coach, you have somebody you can go to, an older brother, an aunt, an uncle, somebody. The guy who owns the candy store on the corner, maybe he's a good role model. But there's always an adult who can give you advice. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And being a former New York cop, I can actually see the motivation for writing a story like this.
Too many kids get left to their own devices, and that's when they get in trouble. Because they don't have that guiding force to show them that that's not right, that's not wrong. One of the things I try to get across is if something feels wrong, it probably is.
Absolutely. So the third book in the trilogy is being published this November?
Yes.
Do you have any plans on expanding the series beyond that?
There are characters I've brought in that are minor characters that have screamed for a backstory. So I may go back at some point, maybe do a prequel, or maybe take a character in a different direction and show you how he got to be that person. But books 1 and 2, Destiny Revealed, Paths of Destiny, are available now. Paths of Destiny is a different kind of story than the first one.
How so?
I actually have the twins separated.
Oh.
Jack has gone back to the non-magical realm on his own. Mm-hmm. His mother has been injured. His father is looking for Maddie, who is being shown a different path by her Aunt Lisa, who may or may not be a good person. Mm-hmm. And I like to show that you may have a great destiny, but there are different ways to get there. The trick is to find the right path and to avoid the pitfalls and the tricks that other people may try to play on you.
Mm-hmm. When did you first begin writing?
Oh, probably 11 or 12 years old. I read my first adult novel was Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Scared myself a bit, but also realized that, I could do that. I could tell a story like that. And I started on the path of doing that. And, over the course of time, real life interrupted that process. But, perseverance pays off. Keep to your dreams. You never know when they'll pay off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, that's something that I have to constantly remind myself. Even if it seems like you're making minimal progress, you're still making progress. And eventually you will achieve that goal.
Absolutely. I sometimes say, people say to me, maybe if you had stuck to it full time, you would have been successful earlier. Well, maybe if I was successful earlier, I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Yes.
I'm in a different place now. I look at it from a different perspective.
Speaking of goals and perspective, did you ever think that you would have a trilogy, let alone a book?
No, because, this is a story that I wrote for my kids. I never thought to put pen to paper and try to get it out there. I was very fortunate in that I have an older daughter who is, she's an English major now at Fordham, and she's looking to get into the publishing world, but she's very much an editor. So she was always, Dad, write it down. And Dad, change this, do this, do this. And it started to grow, and I was like, I have it on paper already. Let's try to do something with it. And then I got lucky. I originally self-published it to Kindle, and it got picked up by a publisher. It got re-edited, redone the covers, and things are going well.
Wow.
I hit the lotto.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. What advice would you give to others who want to be writers, but they don't quite know where to start? Or, how you have that one person you meet who's had a story in their head for years, but doesn't quite know how to translate it to paper?
Well, try to get it down any way you can. Don't worry about if it's sloppy, if the sentences don't make sense, if your spelling is horrible. There's always ways to fix that. Get the story down. If you want to get published and you want to learn the right way to do it, there are so many writing groups. Other writers are willing to help you. Every town has its own writing group. They have workshops, and they get together and they talk about their writing, and they'll help you with your craft. There are so many podcasts now available that will help you with that. There are so many venues now. Even self-publishing is a way to get it out there. There are independent editors. There are people to help you along the way. If you have a story, don't be afraid to write it down, and keep at it every day. If you write a paragraph a day, anything, a page a day, you write a page a day, at the end of the year, you have a novel.
Yes.
Keep at it. Keep going. Keep moving forward. Baby steps, giant steps, leaps and bounds, however you go, just keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. Some of the folks that I meet, a lot of it comes from fear. Like maybe they feel like they're not a real writer, or maybe they feel like their story isn't good enough. And similar to you, I always tell them to just write. Don't worry about the grammar. Don't worry about punctuation. Just complete your story.
You do get discouraged. You do get to a point wondering, does anybody want to read this? But if you're writing to become a millionaire, you're never going to get the story done. It's never going to be good. You have to write the story that's inside of you, the story that you want to tell, and that's when it's real. If you start looking around going, okay, what's selling today? Okay, let me write for that. If that's not really who you are, it's going to come through.
And I think that's why your books are so successful right now, because you're writing from a perspective that you know.
Yeah, and it's well, that's what I like about fantasy. It's fun. It's fantasy. I can make up anything I want. You know, if I want the sky to be green, it's going to be green.
Yeah, and it would make sense.
I can do that
in a fantasy setting. Yeah. Have you noticed your writing style change over the years?
Yes, in that I've become simpler. You know, I'm not looking for the word that impresses somebody to show off my education. I'm looking for the word that presents the idea the best way possible. Mm. You know, I think simpler in a lot of things is better.
Yeah. You know, I've had a lot of guests on the show, and I think that's the first time anyone has ever mentioned simplicity. That is absolutely, you hit the nail on the head. Yes.
Yeah, if you've been in the same room 3 times in a chapter, you don't have to tell me that the carpet has a little hole in the right-hand corner. I'm never going to see that.
Sounds like an Anne Rice novel.
Well, you ever read the Bourne Supremacy, the Bourne books?
No, I have not read the books.
Okay, the movies were fantastic. I read the books, and I understand Ludlum's a big-name writer, but you spent 3 pages describing a cut on somebody's arm. I can't do that. You know, okay, he's got a cut. It's bleeding. I get it. Let's go.
Yeah. There was a really, really good article I read. I forgot who it was written by, but it was called I Smell Your Rookie Moves, New Writers. And he basically talked about not describing everything because not everything is interesting. Keep the story brief. You know, I'll probably tag it in the show notes. Anyway, side note to myself.
I always like when you sit in an English class in high school and they start telling you, oh, these blue curtains, they represent the mood of the writer and his deep depression. Maybe he just likes the color blue. Yeah. And the curtains are blue.
Yeah, right. Looking for what's not there. Well, Cris, it was really great speaking with you. Where can readers find you and your stories online?
I'm on Facebook. Find me author Cris Pasqueralle. Please like the page. I usually respond to messages pretty quickly. Any questions anyone has. My books are on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Actually, I discovered that they're also on the Walmart.com site. Found that out by accident.
There you go.
Book 1, Destiny Revealed. Book 2, Pass of Destiny. 3rd book coming out this fall. And the film versions are in discussions.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Cris, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to having you back on again to discuss some of your other projects.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
Man, I love those inspirational interviews. You really get a sense of what Cris does and why he's so good at it, and looking forward to following his progress. Oh, and let me not forget, I want to congratulate Haley, Tashvi, and Ryan for completing our Half Price Books writing workshop. They cranked out some amazing stories, which are currently being showcased at the Half Price Books Frisco location, so check it out. And if you are interested in developing your skill of writing, we're going to have some more workshops lined up at that location later this year. And I've just started a Chapter 1 Pinterest page. It's a one-stop location where you can find our highly organized boards that feature full episodes, links to all the guest authors, and other funny book-related content. And as always, if you have any questions or comments about the show, or know an author who you think would be a good fit, let me know. Message me on Facebook or email me at info@ch1podcast.com. Till next time.